All right, we are live again. Welcome back. We have a bye week this week, so we have plenty of things to talk about outside of just a regular game. We'll go over the Duke game. We'll go through where the Who's are at, and we'll talk about some of the stuff we talked about from our preseason show. Thought this would be a good time with one game left to have Jackie come back on. Last time we talked to you, Jackie, it was preseason. We did all that fun stuff, but it's been a heck of a year, huh? It's been fun.
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot of fun, and it's not over. That's the exciting part, right? Even if the regular season's almost over, you already know there's postseason play no matter what happens in the next few weeks. So it's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. This might be the farthest in I've been like really genuinely excited for Virginia football, like in a long time. I mean, obviously, Bronco had a couple years where they went to some bowls and stuff, and it was like extending the season, and you're looking forward to different things. But this one feels like it might go like the longest to be excited for. So I'm pretty pumped about it.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a lot of fun covering this team too, because you can tell they're having fun too. So when you're interviewing them in the middle of the week and you're seeing them post game, and you can just hear the locker room, because usually the media room that we're waiting for and the visitors, whenever we do travel or even at home, you can hear the locker room from your press room. So it's been fun seeing that. The last few years hasn't been as joyous as that. So it's been fun to see that week in and week out.
Yeah, it's good stuff. We can jump right into it. So the Who's at this point, for those maybe not fully keeping up where we're at, 9-2 on the year. Still just the one ACC loss. Obviously most realized Chandler Morris got knocked out early of the Wake Forest game. The Who's end up losing that one at home. Kind of a bummer, but the good news was he wasn't down for long. He throughout the week it was kind of a iffy, will he, won't he play situation thing going on. Then he ended up being cleared to go Saturday against Duke. So Virginia rolled, honestly. I mean, the final score ended up maybe being a little closer looking at 34-17 than the game was. But, I mean, to put it bluntly, Virginia dominated every aspect of that game, I thought. Dragon, what did you see in that one?
Yeah, I mean, that was bell to bell domination, basically. I think Duke ended up scoring 2 touchdowns in the fourth in garbage time, essentially. But that was the most complete performance from this team that we've seen all season, and even more so than the William and Mary game or the Coastal game, just given the fact of what Duke had to play for. I mean, it's easy to forget that Duke was also controlling their own destiny in the ACC going into that game, and the way their offense was performing, over 300 yards a game passing. I think one of the top scoring offenses in the country, if I remember correctly, going into it. And I mean, they just shut them down defensively. And then the offense for the Who's came alive as well in a way that we just haven't seen, since the early part of the season, the first quarter of the season. So it was utter dominance.
Yeah, I mean, the Who's defense held them to, I believe it was 4 third down conversions, is all Duke managed to conquer. Under 2 rushing yards per carry. So pretty dominant statistics. Now, like you said, the offense finally showed up. I mean, I tell you what, that was probably the best I'd felt watching a Virginia game in weeks at this point, because so many games have been these like nail biters and sluggish starts and things not going the way, we really hoped they would. Chances to put teams away, and we weren't really doing it. They had the pick six there that was kind of a head scratcher in the whole situation. But at the same time, like even with that, I never really thought this game felt in doubt. I mean, it just felt like, oh, there's a bonehead play. That's okay. We can run the clock out. Jackie, I think you went down to Duke, right? Were you down there?
Yes, I was down there.
How was the vibe like in the stands and in the booths and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Duke fans that were there were kind of a little shocked in how quiet their offense was. I mean, you mentioned they were season lows. Let me look. I have their stats here. It was Duke's with season lows and total offense, only 255s. Rushing yards was 42. Passing yards was 213. They only had 18 pass completions. And only it was 11 first downs, and then their first down came with 10 minutes remaining in the second quarter. I mean,
Sorry, I had to jump in. This is a quote. You read the stats and jog the memory for me. So Who's held them to 252, I believe it was, an offense total, is what you said? 255. This is an offense that was averaging 312 through the air coming into that game.
Yeah.
Almost 400 yards a game in offense they were averaging. The Who's held them to 255. Sorry, I remember hearing
it's
Elliott
crazy,
say
right?
that post game, and I'm just like, yeah, I just couldn't remember the numbers.
And kudos to John Radzinski and Kurum Cox and all those guys on that defense, because when you look back at the NC State games, there were a couple of things that stood out, right? The secondary, you can see there were some issues with those big play, and they were letting, Bell kind of run down the field. And we saw them a lot, right? Deuce Robinson also against Florida State. And then you saw the defensive front, and they had some issues figuring out those rotations, right? Figuring out when to sub. It kind of looked like a hockey game at one point where they had complete line changes. They figured out which personnel worked with what. And that has allowed this defensive line to be so productive, because when you go in that second half, they're fresh. I mean, Jameer Carter sometimes only has like a dozen snaps. You would not think of that happening like a year or two ago. But because him and Jacob Holmes, Jason Hamm, and Anthony Britton are fresh, they're going up against O-linemen that are tired. And that's when you're seeing that big fourth quarter rush that they've been able to having those guys be able to control the line of scrimmage. So you have that defensive front. But what they've been benefiting was those DBs and corners winning those one-on-one battles. Emmanuel Carnley, Devin Neal coming up with a big pass breakup in that goal line stand. That has been the difference. And Jacob Holmes said it. He said, because those guys are doing their jobs and winning those battles, I can feel comfortable pushing forward and pressuring the quarterback, knowing that my guys in the back are going to be on that island and still do their jobs. So that has what been changing there defensively. But on offense, what stood out to me was Virginia struggled since about the Stanford game was the last time. Louisville, you saw it. They had miscues, missed times on that first drive coming out, right? They couldn't get the rhythm going. And then because they couldn't get the rhythm going there, the offense never got going. They had the longest drive to start the game this season. It lasted 6 minutes and 40 seconds. That allowed Chandler Morris, all those guys to keep going. And when that happened, and then Duke went 3 and out, you saw the air kind of leave the stadium because Virginia was showing what they were capable of doing against Duke.
Yeah, I think that first drive was like 14 plays or something. I think there were 3 third downs they converted, something like that.
Yeah. I mean,
It was just methodical. I mean, not only did it take time off the clock, but man, I mean, they were just like, I don't know. We talked about this on the forum a few weeks back, Jackie. I don't know your exact feelings on it, but something we can talk about, I guess. Some people, I guess, view third downs as a bad thing, but to me, it's more of like, what do you do with your third downs? I don't think a third down is a bad thing in football. Like, I think the best offenses are predicated on being able to control those situations and to convert them, so you can control the clock and do these types of things, wear a defense down. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel good about it. Like, I think the Hoos converted, was it 63% of their third downs in this game?
Yes, they recorded 63. They're the best since the Stanford game.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I felt good about it. I mean, there was never really a situation in this where I was like not confident they were going to get it, honestly. I mean, I just felt like they were rolling. I thought things looked good that first drive.
Yeah, I mean, for Virginia, you just want to be ahead of the chains. Des says always be on schedule. And I think third downs, as long as third and manageable, like third and longs, I get that's an issue. But if you're third and manageable, you're trying to control the clock. Virginia wins when they control the clock.
Right.
So if Virginia is going there and doing 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, I mean, they're great at 4th down too, the last game against Duke. So if you're getting them at 4th and 1, you're able to control the clock, get that first down, use the direct snap, which is beautiful that they did it, not in the goal line stand, finally using direct snap in the middle of the field. Doing that, I mean, you're controlling the clock. You are getting that defense tired, which is also big. And that's what's been the difference. I mean, when you look at the games that they struggled, they lost the time of possession. Yeah. And that's why those third down don't bother me, as long as they're third and manageable and not 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 15. Yeah. So as long as it's like even 3rd and 5, I mean, you got Jamari Taylor, you got Harrison Whaley, you got Trell Harris. Those are manageable with the playmakers you have. And Chandler Morris. I mean, I know fans are going to hate, but he is good running the ball. I know you guys don't like drawn up quarterback runs, and I get it. You want to keep Chandler Morris safe, but when he runs, that offense is better.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You nailed it right there, Jackie. It's like this team is made for that. Elliott's made no bones about it since he got here, that he wanted a power running team. He wanted to control the clock through its rushing game. Like, again, the narrative or the perceptions, obviously, the Clemson offense, and even those offenses, ETN, like Spiller, like those guys ran the ball right at you. And that's what he's finally able to do. And like you said, you get to 3rd and 4 of this team, 3rd and 3, you got 3-4 backs all averaging over 4 yards a carry.
Mhm.
Like that's a pretty safe bet. That's what you want to be. Yeah, that's what my guy Jeff says, old school. It really is. And Wolf Morris's ability to do a little RPO and get out on the edge, like I mean, that's a horrible position to be if you're a defender and you're sitting there on 3rd and 3 from your own 35, and you're looking at that offense and you're like, everyone's in play right now. Literally everything's in play for this team across the ball for me. And then not only is it physically demeaning when you get beat, on these 6-minute drives. To your point earlier, like it's mentally draining as well when you line up time and time again and you do everything right. And these road graders are just getting 4 yards. And you just have to line up and do it again and run your head into that wall again. And, and to your point, you have a 6.5 minute drive to start a game. Your offense goes 3 and out and you're right back out there again.
Right.
Like that sucks as a defender. And you start asking questions of yourself of, I don't know what to do. What do we do? How do we, what happens now?
Yeah, I remember the drive that kind of seals that for me is that Florida State game. Chandler Morris had just hurt his hand. He kind of hit on a helmet, so he didn't throw the ball. They ran the whole time, all the drive into the touchdown. That was demoralizing for Florida State after they went ahead, right? That there was kind of like they just ran down our throats.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite drives in Virginia history. In all honesty, was like I think they ran the ball like 11 times in a row between 2 drives or something like that, and they had like a 5-minute drive and a 6-minute drive back to back, and it was just, I mean, it's as a former O lineman, that's just beautiful. That's what you're looking for in football, and to your point, it is absolutely demoralizing to the guys on the other side of the ball.
And the way they run too, like those guys, honestly, they're still even a threat, like on a 3rd and 6. Like, I mean, I understand some people get frustrated with Dez when he hands the ball off and it doesn't go because you're like, oh, come on, that's a passing situation. But when you look at it from the same aspect of you've got running backs who get you 5-6 yards routinely, and you don't have that fear of 4th down because you can do it. Like I don't really hate the calls. I mean, the thing about it is it keeps defenses focused on the entire field, right? Like you can't just say, oh, okay, well the running back's not a threat in this situation. Like they have to be game plan for everything.
Yeah. No, I mean, Des Kitchings had a really good quote last week heading into Duke game. He was saying, like, I'm over 50 years old. I don't stay on social media. They're going to love me one week and they're going to hate me the next week. And he's pretty good. He's pretty transparent in those interviews. And he'll tell you, like that everyone will point to that Wake Forest red zone opportunity after Daniel Kaling ran those 50 yards down and Virginia was trying to go. And they had that little trick play to Jamari Taylor. And he will say, like, listen, we were stretching them out and we had the opportunity. We had the numbers. There was a reason why they were doing that, and it worked in practice. But he even admitted, he's saying, like, maybe we should have taken out the passing opportunity for Daniel Kaling. Maybe we're too complicating it for a guy coming in this particular instance where he was coming in for Chandler Morris. So he takes, he's transparent. He says, you know what, my bad. We should have made that simpler. But you can also see that if it was executed, it would have gone. So sometimes it's hard to argue when you look. You're like, Noah Josie is probably one of the most consistent offensive linemen, one of their best offensive linemen. When you're calling that play, you're like, I'm going to be doing a play heading to the left side. Noah Josie's got me. I mean, you wouldn't think that was the one block that you wouldn't be held, right? So yeah, I think I think Des has done a good job this season. Like, is there a couple plays here and there you might scratch your head, but then you're like, well, if it was executed, we'd probably be praising that he went outside the box. So it's kind of a little bit, this is the first time you're seeing Des with the correct pieces that they've been missing. The only thing I will say is that once Dakota Tweedy went down, that kind of changed a little bit the dynamic of that offense. They don't run 12 personnel as much because Dakota Tweedy isn't there anymore. But yeah, other than that, I think what this team has been able to do, what Terry Heffernan and Des Kitchings have been able to manage with that O-line, it's been good.
Yeah, we broke that play down pretty in-depth last week because the exact way I put it was that's a play where if they would have made the blocks and Taylor would have just fell into the end zone, that we would have viewed Dez as a genius, right? Everybody would have said,
Yes.
"Oh, it's so smart, innovation for the backup, keeping the defense honest, off balance, blah blah blah." But because it didn't work, it's all you moron. What are you doing? Like it's just
Yes.
one of those situations for him that's a little unfair. I do kind of side with the idea that I just don't like the idea of variables in situations when you have a constant and a given with like the direct snaps, bringing in the extra lineman, the things that we've seen work. I don't really like the variable of having anyone throw the ball, and I've kind of said the same thing with some of the plays with Chandler too.
Yeah.
Like the tight end pass, I think it was against North Carolina where he tripped, where Sage tripped, kind of coming out of the
Yeah.
break.
Yeah, he tripped coming
Stuff
out
like
of the
that.
break.
Just like
Yeah.
you don't need to do that. But it's a no-win situation for him, right? It
Yeah.
only works. Whatever scores keeps people happy, and nobody says a word. So I mean, kind of
Yeah,
is what it
Matt.
is.
Yeah, I had Matt Schaub on our podcast, and he actually talked a little bit about that play. And he said, well, first of all, in third down situations, he's like, I want them to run because they're going to go in fourth down anyway. So at least run the ball on third down. So he was saying that. But he said at the end of the day, that one, he mentioned that Chandler Morris threw the ball a little too quick. He didn't keep an eye on Sage Ennis. And I thought it was interesting. I thought like Matt broke down that play really well, and he kind of agreed, saying like, if you're going to go on fourth, because they went on fourth down, just run the ball.
Right.
Let you just do that. If you're going to go, then run it twice. Or if you have like RPO that Chandler Morris can run. But yeah, sometimes they do overthink it sometimes.
I definitely think they do. I mean, I'm someone who's been harsh on Dez in the past, but I give him more than a passing grade this year. And to your point, to both y'all's point, I feel like to me the key is every OC is going to miss on some plays. Like that's just the nature of the game, and it's really easy to Monday morning quarterback it. But I think for me, it comes down to like, how do those misses look? Like, is this an egregious? Are we running trick plays for the sake of running them? And you're just like, oh my goodness, this makes no sense in the flow of the game, or is there logic behind it? And a guy slips coming out of a break. The QB doesn't hold the Mike linebacker's eyes long. These little things that just are just part of the inevitability of 11 human beings trying to do something all together. And I feel like the big plays that kind of stick out in people's heads this year are like, oh my gosh, what's Dez doing? The NC State game with the pick. Like, these are all good play calls. They were maybe mis-executed in the moment, but the play call was right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference to me, where I'm like, okay, that's a big difference than in the past where it's been like, okay, that was a bad play call. And even if the execution was right, that was going to be a long way to get to the first down, or a difficult first down, or a difficult end zone trip to make. Whereas these one, I'm like, it's there. Morris makes a wrong read. Okay, that happens. Like, that's not on Dez as much as that's on Morris. Guy slips coming, and slips coming out the break, whatever. Like, Josie misses a block, like you said, like he makes 95% of the time probably.
Right.
It's like, that's football. To me, I'm like, I'm willing to live with those mistakes. If we're calling within the rhythm of the game and within the right context, you have the numbers, there's a logic to it. And I feel like they've executed that, or they've done that this year. And that's, to me, the biggest difference. And like you said, like, the staff has horses for the first time, and they have all the pieces to do the things they want to do. When you see it, you're like, oh, all the pieces on the chessboard start to move just the way they're supposed to. And of course, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but more than not, it's pretty daggone good. And even when we had kind of that lull in the middle of the season, it was because injuries, and there were so many new pieces on the chessboard that it was hard to really get that rhythm going. Or even when guys started to come back, when Wilson came back, he struggled that first week back against Carolina, getting back into a rhythm of it all. And that was really, our lulls have been more because of that. But when everyone's kind of locked in, got their reps, back in shape, you get what happened on Saturday against Duke, and you're like, oh, this is a pretty daggone good offense out here.
Yes.
Yeah, which, speaking of injuries, guys, I see some of the questions there. We're going to get to the playoff stuff and some of the ACC championship, the fun stuff we're all dreaming of, right? But before we get there, bringing up the injuries, I do kind of want to talk about it. Jackie, this might just be on me for missing it too. Did Elliott do a media session this week for the bye week or no?
He does not. So Virginia doesn't really have opportunities for media availability during the bye week. They kind of give everybody a break. So I know he did the coach's corner stuff on Tuesday, but that's about all the stuff we have with him. So we'll talk to him on Tuesday.
Gotcha. We might have to wait a little bit because I mean there seemed to be a decent number of guys, right, that were kind of limping off the field at certain points of the game this past week. Probably the biggest one is the stuff with Cam.
Yeah, so that's what we're waiting on right now. I haven't heard much. So Virginia in the second half of the season have kind of kept injuries a little bit tighter to the chest, as you would imagine.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so for the last time we heard, they thought it was a bruise to the knee.
Oh.
And I think Virginia at that point was in the second half and they were pretty much in control. Why would you push it at that point? The
Right.
scans were clear and clean when they did it at Duke. If he wasn't going to go full speed, just keep him and arrest him. You have the opportunity to arrest him. It's not like it's not Cameron Robinson's one of those players. He doesn't have to practice, right? He
Right.
can come in
Right.
and rest up and play against Virginia Tech. So, but honestly, what that showed too is what Landon Danley was able to do after, coming in, and because he missed a couple games because he had a shoulder injury. So he's back to being full health too. But yeah, I think he's the main injury. I'm trying to think who else.
Yeah, I think Platt limped off the field at one point, but I want to say
he's been dealing with an injury the last few weeks. But yeah, he limped up. I haven't heard anything to say that he's long term or anything like that. Maddox Marcellus, I know he came off with a shoulder, but he seemed fine post game. He had ice on his shoulder. So he seemed fine. But those are the only ones.
Trying to remember. I want to say, did one of the wide receivers come up limping at some point?
Which one?
Did one of the wide receivers? Was it either Cam Ross or Trell? One of the two of them, maybe. I want to say one of them limped off, but then went back in like 2 plays
I think
later.
Cam was banged up at one point in the second quarter, maybe.
Yeah, he was banged up when the special teams, when he went for a return, 2 guys kind of hit him at the same time. But he played. Yeah, he played afterwards.
Yeah.
And Trell was fine. We talked to him post game, so he was fine.
Cool. Well, good deal. Okay, so that's not as much of a worry then. It's really more or less just put some ice on some bruises for a week, right? Get ready for the Tech game. Then that's good.
Yeah, so that's as far as I know. But yeah, as far as I know, that's it. I know Cam Robinson. I haven't heard anything update lately.
Okay, well, we'll keep an eye out for that. Next week, I guess will be Tuesday was when he does the media next week, probably.
Yes, we'll have actually all our media availability is all in one day. So usually we split it between Tuesday and Wednesday because of Thanksgiving. We'll have all of them on Tuesday.
Oh, cool. Okay, good. Well, everybody be tuned in for that. That'll be good stuff there. Moving ahead though, so everybody wants to talk about this, right? This is the big news here. Virginia this week stayed at 19 in the CFP rankings. If we're being completely honest at this point, I don't know that the numbers really mean anything to our situation. Our situation is probably very strictly win the ACC to get in.
Yep.
I think if they win, they're going to get in. I think if they don't, they're not. I just think it's that straightforward at this point. Yeah. Now, getting there, though, that's some scenarios, right? So there's chances that Virginia could miss, obviously with losing to Tech. There's a slim chance that they could miss by beating Tech. And then there's also this weird chance that they could have it locked up and it not matter after this weekend when they're on the bye. So it's kind of a whole thing, right? I mean, there's so many different ways this could play out. It's really tough to pin down what's going to happen. The easiest, cleanest way to look at this is basically if Virginia wins, they're more than likely going to get in. It's a very minuscule chance that SMU, I think, is the team that could get the tiebreakers to upset that if everybody wins out.
Right.
But that's a pretty minuscule thing, right, Jackie, is what you were looking at?
Yeah, so there was a lot of math involved. So because the tiebreakers go the common opponents first. So once you go tied, you go see which is your common opponents. Virginia and SMU both lost to Wake at this point. SMU does face Louisville and Cal next. So those are 2 other common opponents. But if they lose one, they're kind of out of it, right? So that doesn't really affect. So as of right now, the only common opponent they face is Wake, and then they both lost to Wake. So thank you, Wake, for at least evening out that for Virginia. So that's the case. So now the next thing you also got to look at is the other ACC opponents that are not common and see their win and loss record. Thankfully, SMU faced both Boston College and Syracuse, and they both face each other in that last week. So that doesn't really help them because they're both going to still be poor in their win and loss record. Yep. So that helps Virginia a lot. Now, the issue is when I started doing on math, so I talked to people at ESPN to try and figure out, because ESPN research is one of the best in the business, right? Those guys, when it comes to numbers, you want to talk to those guys. So I talked to people there, and they had said that Virginia, winning Virginia Tech, that's it. That's all they need to do when they looked at the numbers. I looked at the numbers afterwards, and it looks like there's a 1% chance that if, like, I'm talking about like Florida State losing to NC State, I think UNC and Duke playing against each other cancels each other out. Duke and Wake Forest cancels each other out just because they both face Virginia. I'm trying to think. There was one more game. Miami beating Virginia Tech. So if Virginia Tech beats Miami, that would help Virginia. I know it's hard, but if Virginia Tech beats Miami, that will help Virginia as well. So if all those go the wrong way, and then Miami beats both Virginia Tech and Pitt, Miami will help SMU have a little bit closer to Virginia. So the ACC office said that right now, status quo, Virginia just beating Virginia Tech is fine because they're marginally better in the percentage. I think they're over 60% when those other ACC opponents, while SMU is in the low 50%. But if you have some of these games go over, I think they both are almost like, it's like 58, 59%. So they're really close together. So then you might be so close that you're going to go to this third-party sports analytic, which no one knows what it is and what's not out there publicly. So then that might come into it. So there's like this 1%, 2% scenario that's going out there that would take Virginia out. So basically, if you're UVA, the only thing you do is just beat Virginia Tech, and that's the most likely avenue for you to go. That's right now. That's all you can really do. And then the other ones, I mean, if you can root for Virginia Tech over Miami, that's okay with your soul. And then, for obviously Florida State over NC State, that'll be a huge help because NC State wasn't your conference opponent, so that's not counted against you. And you would do Florida State if they win, that would help your win total.
Yeah, which I think Jim here has one of the two at least. Georgia to beat Georgia Tech. We'll see. I think Georgia's a much better team than Georgia Tech, but those weird games, rivalry week, things get crazy. Georgia Tech really had a chance to win that game last year, and they didn't. They kind of blew it, honestly.
Yeah.
But I could see them coming out fired up and somehow pulling it off. I don't think they do. I mean, I don't, but it's also not out of the realm of possibilities. Louisville, SMU, that's one that I feel good about. I think Louisville is going to come out on fire and beat SMU this week, personally. The other games that we need to clinch, I don't feel as confident about, but that one is the one that I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I think this is going to happen.
Yeah, that's the one. If you had to root for Louisville, like Louisville and Cal, one of those two needs to be SMU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
make this
someone knocks them off. I mean, Louisville's definitely got it in their bag. Louisville, that's one of those teams I have a hard time kind of. SMU, I also have a hard time kind of pegging exactly what they are the last 3 weeks, but yeah, I mean, I have no problem pulling for them, and yeah, Georgia's going to run all over Georgia Tech. I'm not too worried about that one, unfortunately.
Jackie, you got a fan here. Russ enjoys the stuff.
Thanks, Russ. Yeah. Thanks for listening to the Good Old Podcast too.
Appreciate
it. We don't get comments like that, Josh.
I know, right? I'm kind of thinking like, man, what in the world? Hopefully we brought Russ over by bringing Jackie in. That's good stuff, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Jim's other comment here, 2-1 odds by Sunday, UVA to play, fill in the blank for the ACC championship. I don't want to say UVA to play because I do fear that jinx of the overconfidence from the random guy on the podcast, being the reason that they don't get it done. That's never felt good. Like, I don't want any of that after what happened.
Humility, Josh. Humility. You don't have that much control over the scenario.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with any of that, but I will say I think Georgia Tech's going to get there.
Yeah. They have the easiest way. I mean, they just need to win on Saturday. That's it.
Yeah.
I think they at home against Pitt, right? It's at Georgia Tech.
Yeah. So they just have to win that. And honestly, like Pitt has the hardest, right? Because they have Miami the next week. And also they lose a lot of those head-to-heads too. Like,
that's what College Game Day did a breakdown of that because they were in Pittsburgh this past week. And they were going over the ACC stuff, and they didn't really talk about Virginia very much, but that's neither here nor there. What they did say, though, was that Pittsburgh essentially doesn't win any of the tiebreaker stuff.
Correct.
It didn't sound like if they could win these big games would help them either. So, like, it sounds like they're really kind of in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, because they lost to Louisville. Mm-hmm. So Virginia beat Louisville, so they already won the head-to-head there. And then for SMU, it depends on what happens now. So the only one that they kind of tie is Miami. They both played Miami, so they both won Miami. Right. So that would help them there. But yeah, no, for Virginia, I mean, that Louisville game is the difference maker between Pitt and Virginia.
Yeah. And who would have thought that a Louisville game would be the biggest win of the year when it happened? I mean, what happened? 6 weeks look very different.
What's crazy too, just on that Pittsburgh Louisville game was insane because I think Louisville was down something like 28.
They were down 20 in the third, and then they turned it on. and went on fire and came back, roaring back to win that game. But yeah, I mean, they were dead in the water in the third quarter.
Yeah, I think that's where I'll draw it at. If you think Virginia's going to get there, I think they're going to play Georgia Tech. We'll see what happens. That's just what I think is going to go with it. Russ did comment back that he checks in with us too. So thanks, Russ. We appreciate
Thanks
that.
for us.
We love that. But anyway, things we wanted to talk about though. So where we're at this point, right? We have one game left. It's Virginia Tech. We all know what this means for not only the whole state and the fandoms and listening to the crap all year, but also like the implications for the Who's outside of this. This isn't really a spot I think anybody expected them to be at in the preseason, right? I mean, we did our thing. We all said 7 to 8, maybe a path to 9 wins. I was hyping up the Pop-Tart Bowl, which, I'd still be excited to be in the bowl game, but at this point I'd be lying if I said it wouldn't be disappointing if that's where we ended up because of how much is ahead of them, right? Like it's pretty unprecedented for us, really. I mean, I don't really even know how to feel. I'm just in awe, honestly.
Yeah, I still remember talking about just because in preseason rankings, Virginia was not discussed, right? When you look at nationally, Virginia was just completely ignored. I think they were picked 14th, right, in the ACC, and I remember doing some shows, and I would say, I wouldn't say they're going to be the worst team in the ACC. I think they were going to be. I had said they were going to be around 8 wins and going to be in the middle of the pack. The ACC. I probably didn't expect Clemson to be so low coming into this year, or Florida State to be so low. But I mean, I thought Virginia would be right there competing. I obviously wasn't going to say college football playoff back then, but I was saying like they would be in there competing and doing much better than they thought. And I think that inside the program, they always thought this way. I mean, you hear the stories of Chandler Morris in the first meeting saying, I came here to win an ACC championship. I didn't come here to go play a bowl game. I came here to win a title. So the program has always kind of bought this in. It's been remarkable what this team, with this coaching staff, I mean, the front office, what they did in the transfer portal, that's what this season kind of shows is their evaluation of talent, creating those relationships really quickly. Obviously what a big donation, multi-million dollars will do for you. But yeah, I mean, this has been a remarkable season for them. I think, I know everyone talks about college football playoffs and ACC title, and I think that's obviously the most exciting part, but honestly, just a turnaround of this program is just a good stepping stone. And you can see what's going on around. I mean, high school kids. I mean, you see what 2027 kids are jumping on board. You're seeing those in-state guys saying, I want to visit Virginia. I want to check out what Tony Elliott is doing. You're already seeing that.
Yeah, it's big stuff, really. I mean, and honestly, at this point, as much of a disappointment as it would be, right, if they were to drop the game to Tech, end up in a regular bowl game, not the playoff, lose that bowl game even. Like, we can't say this season didn't exceed expectations, right? I mean, I feel like it's pretty safe at this point that this becomes a stepping stone no matter what. I mean, obviously, it could become a real springboard if they can make the playoff, and even if they manage to do some damage there, how wild would that be? But I think things at this point, though, I mean, 9-2, the program's only had one 10-win season ever. Like, no matter what at this point, they're in pretty rare air. So this, to me, feels like it sets up well for the future. Dragon, what do you think so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think Elliott and company have almost put us in this weird, unforeseen predicament of 9 wins almost isn't good enough because of how they got to 9 wins, which is insane to say because we all sat here and to your point, Jack, like at best I thought 7 wins out of the team, maybe 8 if things broke really well and they beat Tech for number 8. But which is awesome to also be in that position where it's like, oh man, they could win 9 games, which has only happened, I believe, 8 times in program history, something like that. Insane. And we're also like, because we see what's so close and just over the next hill, you're like, oh, that would be a disappointment. Now, reality is it's not a disappointment. Like you said, this is a massive stepping stone. And I think, Jackie, to me, what was interesting is, I'm the guru picking games and stuff like that down here in Atlanta, and the amount of chatter I hear just from the national podcasts and the national media things I read of Virginia just continually popping up. People talking about their games for the last 2 or 3 months now. I'm just like, oh, hey, Virginia's playing this game. That's a big game. It has implications. That's something that hasn't happened in almost a decade now at this point, even before the 19 Orange Bowl. when I was back in town for the Wake Forest game, to feel that energy. And granted, we know what happened on the field, but that energy in Charlottesville on Friday, I sent out a message to forums. I haven't felt a pregame energy like this on Friday. I was at the Virginia for lunch. I was like, I haven't felt this energy on grounds for a football game, maybe ever. And that's not hyperbole. I could not think of a time where I just felt Charlottesville so buzzy for a football game. And it was just insane. It was incredible. And just walking through the parking lot before the game and just being in the stand, like it was a very unique feeling. And you do feel like something's changing. There's something different in the air right now. And I'm looking forward to see how we continue to grow it and what comes out. Obviously I want them to win hopefully 3 more games at least this year, if not, however many it makes it to win it. Yes, I want to win a national championship, but realistically, I'll take 3 wins and take that all day and die a happy man. But I think we're seeing a foundation be laid for something special. And I think we know what this group can do with the right resources on the recruiting trail and what this front office can do in terms of recruiting. I know there's been a lot of talk about that. You're starting to hear the buzz of like, can they duplicate it? And I'm like, I feel pretty confident that we see you give this front office, you give Tony Elliott resources and opportunity, and they're going to walk through that door. And I think that's where we're at right now, which is awesome, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, we'll throw Maggie in there asking if they continue the momentum. I'm kind of with you. I think they're going to be able to. I don't see a reason they can't, especially the biggest thing. I don't think I can stress enough to this how different the college landscape is compared to what Virginia fans specifically are used to. And a lot of that is because, if we're being completely honest, this has mainly been a basketball school for a while, right? Tony Bennett had the Hoos at very high levels. We all understand that, right? Football hasn't been great. Basketball was. We get that. He did it in a certain way that, truthfully, it doesn't really fit what's going on now. And I think that is a lot of the shell shock for Virginia fans to not fully grasp at this point. I mentioned that too with some of the talk with our friends down south in Blacksburg with their new coach, and how 15 years ago, 10 years ago even, I would have been a little bit more timid of the hire. But now, because of what NIL is and how these situations work, how these transfers work, I don't know that it's sustainable to do things outside of the way that Tony Elliott's seeming to want to do it, right? Like, you get the boosters on board, you get your money, you get the facilities. We have all that now. And you build through the transfer portal and you eye good talent that way. I mean, that seems like the best way to go. Jackie, what do you think on that? What do you think? I mean, we'll get into maybe what they're going to target, but specifically to the style, the idea of it, what do you think about building that way?
Yeah, so I still think Virginia, I don't think they should live in the portal. I think they should fill in the gaps in the portal. But I don't think they should live in the portal. I will give you a few examples. One, Florida State. They live in the portal. Don't do that. You can see what happens when you live in the portal, when you see Florida State, because you don't get that. The reason why I'm praising the staff this year so much is what they did with over 30 transfers is very unusual, because they built a locker room, a culture with guys coming from different environments, coming from different backgrounds, coming from different ideas and ideologies. And they put it in there and they all gelled very quickly. They did a great job of finding the correct personalities. That doesn't happen every time. I mean, look at Louisville. I mean, they face adversity and they lost. And sometimes you have that when you don't have a locker room that's united together. And then Florida State, I mean, they have not found success back to back because it's hard. Sometimes you're trying to look at these guys. Some guys aren't playing in their other program, Power 4 school. So you're trying to evaluate guys who doesn't have any game films. Some guys are in the portal for a reason. And it's a gamble to go after them. You're also dealing with injury concerns. Some of those guys are in the portal because they were hurt at their previous institution. So you're bringing them in with some question marks there. So living in the portal is a gamble. It's a risk. I mean, look at Rutgers' defense. The reason why the defense isn't as strong this year is because they gambled in the portal on that side of the ball, and it didn't pan out. Virginia, everything panned out. This year, things just clicked correctly. Look down that transfer portal. I mean, unless you're an O-lineman, and unfortunately, there was a lot of injuries coming from those transfer guys, they had success. I mean, look at that D-line. Mitchell Melton, success. Daniel Rickert, success. Jacob Holmes, success. Hunter Osborne, success. And then you marry that with guys that have been in your program, building the foundation for years, like Jason Hammond, like Anthony Britton, like Jameer Carter. Those guys, those three are why they're successful, because they're there. They know what is the expectation is there, and they help those transfer portal guys accept your culture. So for Virginia, you still need that balance. So you can't live in the portal because you lose that the authenticity of what Virginia is. It's a different program. So you still need those high school guys coming in to sell your program. The transfer portal could help you, but again, there's so much variables there that with a school that has so much margin of error so low in those games, close game situations, you're going to have situations where they're going to go the other way. This year, things have been going right because they gambled and they won. That's why the portal is, for me, I know a lot of people say we could just throw money and win the portal, but you're also gambling that your valuations are going to be on point every single time. Look across the country. How many of those portals have been 100% accurate? In high school, yes, you got to evaluate, but you have a longer relationship with those guys. You have a longer idea of how their body's going to develop because you've been seeing them for a couple years. You also know the high school coaches. You understand a little bit more. So for me, for Virginia to continue momentum is win in high school, get some more, build the foundation, build your core so that you can have guys like Dylan Newton-Short, who has been able to come in. Have guys like Martina Williams, who's played a lot of games on special teams. Now with all the injuries, he's playing more. Have guys like Jameer Carter have guys like Anthony Britton, who's having a stellar year. Jason Hammond, who's having a really good year. I mean, that's the difference. I mean, look at Ethan Minter. He's having a great year as safety. He didn't come from the portal. If you look at Mikhail Boley, that was your high school recruit. Noah Josie, he was your high school recruit. Those are the guys that still you're going to rely on.
I think I love that. I think you're absolutely right. To me, the portal darling, I look at it, and it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of whatever, but it's kind of almost fool's gold. It's Indiana, and I think Indiana is obviously the one. But I think what makes Indiana special is, yes, they rely on the portal, but they brought in a very special type of portal athlete because they essentially brought in all Cinetti's guys. Right. So to your point, there was this built-in institutional trust. And they've been able to season on top of that this year with Mendoza and some other guys coming in to play QB. But I think that's the key. To me, that's the key with the portal. It's like Jeff said, it's using it to build playable depth. It's using it to find those accent pieces. To me, that's the seasoning on the meal. It's not necessarily the main meal.
Right.
But I do think, we need to Virginia to continue to win on the recruiting trail out of high school. They need to find ways to kind of up in today's environment. You can't necessarily depend on 3-4 year players to develop within your system, unfortunately, for better or for worse. And so, I don't know. I've often used this analogy, for so many years we've said, oh, we'll take 2 stars and make them into 4 stars. We'll take 3 stars and make them into 5 stars. And I think that's still the formula, but I think we need to start taking 3 stars into 5s and less 2s into, not the exact analogy there, but you get what I'm saying in the sense that we just have to raise the floor a little bit more to fill in that spot so that, to your point, you're not having to then go into the portal to fill in such huge gaps. I don't know they're going to have, 2 to 3 years to develop guys the same way that they used to, especially when you're still having to bring in guys. It's just this weird mix. It's finding that balance. And I'm not sure what the right answer to it is, but I think you're right. You have to continue to hold that base. And I think that's also a credit to Tony Elliott, is that he built a culture from day one in this program, and he's dealt with mass exoduses, almost since day one. And he found a way to hold guys together, hold guys accountable. And I think that's also the big difference between their success in the portal, not just hitting on the right recruits in the portal, but also getting them to gel, versus most of those programs you just named that are struggling. If you look in their locker rooms, they were struggling last year, and they're like Florida State's a dumpster fire in their locker room. We all know that. Mike Norvell has had struggles there. It's not surprising that all the ingredients don't mix. And I think that's what you see a lot of times. But when you see coaches, Texas Tech's done a good job, not just paying and finding good players. They built a culture, and for those players to land in and gave them a soft spot so that they have a sound foundation. I think that's the key. And I think as long as Elliott's in place, that you're right, that they strike that balance. They can continue to strike that balance of building from within and then finding they're going to have to find a quarterback in the offseason, most likely. Even if it's not the starter, they're going to have to find someone in there as a seasoned vet, to be able to find those accent pieces, I guess, to kind of mesh in with the establishment that's already there.
Yeah, I think at the very least, they're going to need at least some competition in the QB room out of the portal, right? I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about Kalen because it's not really fair to him, being that he got a spot he had to play in, coming in kind of cold. But at the same time, I mean, yeah, they're going to have to do some recruiting, right? Be it high school and be it transfers both. It seems like they're going to have the momentum there, right, Jackie? Like, where do you think they're going to target? What are they going to be doing this winter? What should we be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, you could see a little bit more momentum now on the high school recruiting trail, and also just the kind of like the talk, right? Because obviously the portal's not open, so technically nothing official, but just the talk among agents and just what you're hearing behind the scenes of Virginia is being discussed because of what they're able to do with who they brought in, right? Having guys like Jacob Holmes performing well, Brady Wilson performing well, Chandler Morris performing well. You got quarterbacks now eyeing Virginia as a quarterback destination, right? So having those high profile guys, O-linemen going, hey, O-line has been talked nationally at Virginia. So that's the type of thing that you get. Jamari Taylor, running backs are like, hey, he's 80 yards shy of 1,000 yards. So that's what's helping Virginia. And in-state recruiting, I mean, I've talked to several high school coaches, and they've said, I mean, Coach Keith Gaither and Coach Kevin Downing had done an amazing job in the Richmond area. They've really helped build inroads in that area. And you see that by how many Richmond guys are now on that roster and how many of them are now committed to Virginia. I mean, they got 2 big ones from Varina High School with Deshaun Richardson and Damari Carter. And now you're seeing them go into the 757 and getting that quarterback, Lonnie Andrews. You got his teammate, Jaden Koval, on the previous staff. You got Gene Jones coming in on that side as well. You got Derek Fisher. Those are kids that you want to keep in state. So in the high school ranks, you're already seeing that kind of build momentum. And in the portal, when you look at who they have, a lot of questions, right? You got guys who are going to be wanting to know if they're going to go to NFL or not. Guys like Trell Harris, right? He possibly can get another year of eligibility because he only played 4 games last year. So possibly can submit a waiver. But he's having a good season. Will he go to NFL? Will he stay another year? You've got guys that have options of, medical waivers. So that will help. That'll kind of determine how many guys they're going to go after. But if a guy like, Mitchell Milton, Daniel Rickard, those guys losing their eligibility, then you're going to look at D-line. Virginia did such a good job in the trenches, and I would be shocked if they don't go back in the trenches to reinforce that. They realize in the O-line that they need to add more bodies, just because if you look at your O-line and you see you have 20 guys, add 5 more if you're Virginia. Just keep adding players in the O-line if you're UVA. So I expect them to go in the trenches. I would be surprised, like you said, quarterback. Right now they would have Daniel Kalen, Kogier, Bjorn Jurgensen, and Eli Hamrick next year. Grady Brusterhouse could possibly come back too. I think they missed the Brady Bunch in those short yardage situations. They really do. They would have the direct snap and the Brady Bunch if he was.
Let's say, but do they really? I mean, they found a nice alternative to it, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can call it the tush push if you want. I just call it the Brady Bunch. So I would expect the quarterback. I think a tight end is a position where I think they definitely need to go, especially with Sage Ennis gone. The Dakota Tweedy has years of eligibility left, but John Rogers is still learning. He's a guy who's been able to make some big catches for Virginia, but you can tell he's still learning being an all-around tight end, being more of an H-back. That he struggled at times with his blocking, so I expect them to get more veteran tight end in the group. They did try to bring another tight end in the last portal session, but they didn't quite find the right fit. So I expect them to add like a veteran guy there. D-line, I think linebacker is possibly a position that they venture in the portal, especially if Cam Robinson, who is able to enter in the NFL this year, if he decides to kind of dip his toe in the water there, then you're obviously going to need another veteran linebacker because James Jackson is gone. So you have a younger group there. The secondary, surprisingly, especially at corner, that's an area last year where they really went in and trying to get it. This is actually a pretty decent group returning. Jason Brevard has another year of eligibility. You got Donovan Platt for another year of eligibility. Obviously, Jam Jackson, Dre Walker are both hurt, but they're coming back next year. Corey Cosner is having a heck of a season at nickel
Mhm.
for a freshman. I mean, we all remember his great pick against Cal. So I think in the secondary, I would say possibly safety is where I might see an addition there. And Virginia has a policy that they have guys they're looking for, but they also leave room for best available. So when you're looking at the portal, if you have a guy who's technically not on your list of players that you want, but he's like, hey, I want to go to Virginia, and this is a guy that has been prolific in his former Power 4 team or is really good, they not going to say no. And you saw that the last portal time as well. So, but yeah, I think Virginia, I mean, looking at this, they currently have, just from math, I wrote this on 24/7. So I have an eligibility board and you can see how many guys are on the roster currently. I haven't factored in a lot of the other walk-ons. It's kind of a weird time now because walk-ons aren't walk-ons anymore. So they're part of the roster limit. So I'm waiting for clarification of when 105 starts because technically they're grandfathered in. And I'm still waiting to hear back to see when this 105 starts. Because right now they have just, if once they take away guys that lose their eligibility, they probably are ranging between 90 and 98 guys currently on the roster. That doesn't factor in guys who go to NFL and factor in guys that graduate that might not come back or decide to leave after they get the degree from Virginia and possibly go into the portal or just be done with football, which is something that happened last year. Mm-hmm. So that will clarify how many guys they bring in the portal, but just eyeballing it, I mean, this could be another 20 guy portal class. Right now they have 13 high school guys, and I could see them possibly bringing 20 guys from the portal.
Yeah, this will be different too, right? Because I mean, last year, obviously losing to Tech kind of stung, but the blessing in disguise to that was we got an early start on the portal, right? Because there was no bowl game to prepare for. How different do you think that's going to be this year? Obviously, because I mean they're going to be playing in something. We don't know yet. We hope for the best, but they're going to be playing some point late December to January.
Yeah, so the portal doesn't technically open till January now.
Oh, okay.
Right. We only have that one window now. You don't have that April window anymore.
Yeah, you don't have the April window.
Nice.
Yeah, you don't have the April window, so you only have that January window, and it starts in the beginning of the year. But I mean, back channels happen. I mean, teams that aren't playing the playoffs or aren't playing bowls, those guys are entering the portal. I mean, right now, I believe now that James Franklin was officially announced as Virginia Tech's coach, kids are now allowed to enter the portal for the next 30 days because it's now that's the rule change. So you're going to see maybe movement there. And then obviously you've got all these other coaching searches that are going on, and you're going to have ripples effects of those. So, I mean, those guys in the front office, I mean, they haven't stopped working, right? I mean, they had the Virginia Tech DB Christian Ellis visit, I think it was 2 weeks ago. So it's not like they are stopping here. They're still researching and seeing who potentially could be an option, what positions they want, and just keeping their ear to the ground. So I think December there's still going to be movement, but publicly and just things that you're going to hear more is going to pick up in January. So I think I think you're not going to hear anything big for as far as Virginia, as far as like, hey, these guys are going into the portal. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this window is being treated. I still don't like where the window is because there's still national championship games I'm like, and then you're dealing, but I get it because it's classes and enrollment. So it's hard right now to deal with the window.
Yeah, there's no clean way to do it. I feel like this year's December, it's going to feel like, I don't know how much y'all are NBA people, but like that June to early July window right before free agency opens in the NBA, and like no one's allowed to talk to anyone yet, but yet by the time free agency opens at midnight, magically there's 30 deals that are all done that we've all known about for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think about that. I feel like we're seeing that with the college game right now with this window being moved back. I mean, I can't think of his name. I mean, Arizona State's quarterback's already pretty much said, I'm not going to be here. I'm open for business, and put a for sale sign out. Like, and he's not the only one. I'm calling him out because it's just on the top of my head, and it's a QB. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see, how much back channel. Again, I fully expect Virginia being Virginia, they're going to keep it classy and keep, everything plays tight to the chest and all that. But yeah, and then of course, like you said, with the coaching, as the coaching opening start opening that new 30-day rule, I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see a wild coaching carousel open up here in about 2 weeks. It's already wild already.
I know.
but
I just
think-
want Lane Kiffin to decide so my timeline can be cleansed.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you had the Lane Kiffin thing, you got Sark out there still. He's still flirting with the NFL or whatever, and then you have this. You're going to have that knock-on effect of everyone else. I mean, fortunately, a lot of guys have gotten paid out of this already. Matt Rule's already got re-up. I think Lane is, I'm sure, backing a brink truck up someplace to his estate in whatever state he's decided to go live in for the next 2 years. But I think that's going to cause a lot of chaos as well.
Yeah, and then that would
Yeah.
also affect Virginia's recruiting footprint, right? So that because
Mhm.
the reason why this season is such good timing for Virginia is you're having a great season when your other team down south is going through a coaching search. Yeah, they just hired James Franklin, but at the same time, you're like, this is a great season for you to have a good season so that you're not competing with a brand new shiny toy over there at Virginia Tech, right? So you're having a good season. Maryland, I mean, there's questions about Loxley if he's going to be there next year.
I think they said he's coming back.
I think they announced that right
yeah,
last
they
week.
now. Well, I mean,
I don't know if I don't know if that was the official. He's our guy. He's coming back, or it's the wink and nudge. He's our guy, and
yeah, or it's like we have to keep him because everyone else is having a coaching search, and I don't want to go into the.
I do think there's going to be some of that because there's so many big fish in the sea out there right now. But I mean, yeah.
But I mean, even if he doesn't lose his job this year, I mean, recruits are like, okay,
they're not going to get lame duck. Yeah,
yeah. So you have that, and obviously Penn State, haven't found their head coach yet. Those are kind of the schools that have come into the state of Virginia and stolen in-state kids.
Mhm.
So
Dabo is still out there. We don't know that. I'm just going to say it.
to be a fly on the wall of Penn State's coaching search right now. But yeah, it's this was a great opportunity for Virginia to build off of this because of all the disarray that's going on, because these are the schools that are coming here. And I mean, look at South Carolina. We don't know what's going on there too. In South Carolina, Coach Beamer has been going into the state of Virginia and grabbing kids. So you have a lot of questions that are out there. And having Virginia being a stable place where these coaches have played together for a lot of years. I mean, even Terry Heffernan and Mike Adams were the two late additions to come in, and Adam Mims was part of the program already before taking over the wide receiver position. That helps.
Yeah. Is anyone more upset that Franklin got the job at VT than South Carolina, who was maybe hoping to find an easy out?
Honestly, I mean, I feel like Florida State fans probably, right? Because it seems like, to me, I took him taking that job was, okay, Norvell's coming back, and Auburn also said no. What's my immediate thought when Franklin agreed?
Yeah, well, Florida State, so a part of their contract, according to I talked to one of the agents that kind of tied in with the coaching searches, and he was saying that I think Florida State needed to raise $30 million in 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's I've always heard it was the money was their issue. I mean, that's always been their issue for like 3 years.
Right.
Now.
But when you have to raise that much money in like a month, it was a lot. So it was kind of like they were just hoping Mike Norvell and Florida State would do something to appease and maybe play for a bowl game. So Florida State, I mean, maybe that's great for Virginia because Florida State needs to win still to get bowl eligibility. So this is a must-win game for Norvell and Florida State.
I mean, I don't like putting my faith in the Florida State team.
I get it.
You know what I mean? When it comes to not that I don't mind cheering for Florida State, but I'm just saying, historically speaking, when they're in these spots, they find a way to lay an egg and just not show up. It's like asking for Florida to show up.
Hey, I grew up watching University of Miami, so So I did not grow up.
If it ain't the Orange Bowl, they don't get quite as hype up the way.
No, I do not. My brother went to school in the 90s. I grew up with Randy Shannon, so I did not get the good Miami growing up.
Yeah, you missed out. You caught that one window. Actually, that's unfortunate.
My dad blames me because I went to Miami in 2008, and he said it seems kind of fitting that my daughter chooses Miami and they start going bad. I'm like, oh man, come on.
Yeah, you got there by the time we were shutting down the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, I was there at the game. I was a student reporter covering for the UMTV cable station. I was there for that game.
Which long term probably wasn't the best thing to happen to the Who's, but in the moment it felt amazing.
It was great. Yeah. For one night it was wonderful. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's been a mess. We'll see what happens with all these coaching searches. I must have completely missed that, I guess, about the transfer window. I didn't realize it moved to January.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, I think that's good. I kind of like that personally compared to what it
I like
was.
that they got rid of that spring window. I hated
Yes.
that you could play a
Yeah.
spring game and then bolt.
Yeah, I feel like it also helps the coaches. I mean,
Totally.
it was a lot. I mean, I can't remember which DB it was. It was the quarterback from New Mexico too. Taylor Lamb offered him, Gavin Franks. He was offered on the 26th of December. Like, you have Taylor Lamb calling someone on the 26th of December to offer him. And I'm like, my gosh, let them have Christmas.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember,
Yeah.
was it Tony Muskett and all them committed in that the last window of December, so right before Christmas, but you're
Mhm.
working all the time. And then you don't have any sort of break, and then you have spring evaluation period plus spring window. I mean, the coaches need a little bit of a break there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
And I
like
mean-
it, but the timing still doesn't work.
Yeah, the timing's still wonky. Like, I would agree with you. I would rather see it move to, or God forbid, we move the national championship to actually be somewhat within the actual 25 season and not 6 weeks into 2026. But yeah, I would like to see it, after the season or something. That makes common sense. That's how it works in every other sport in the world, basically. But I am glad they got rid of that spring one. So you don't have another, was it Nico situation we had at Tennessee and those sort of situations where you get guys holding teams up in April and then having to essentially bomb their season or their roster.
Yeah. It's just awful. I mean, you're in the spring, you're like, oh, I finally have my team. And then you're like, actually,
my starting quarterback's going to leave, and now that's going to create a domino effect across 4 schools and 3 conferences.
yeah, like, well, there goes my game plan that we installed throughout the entire spring.
Yeah, we've been working on this since January, and none of it matters now.
Yeah, it's one. Sorry, go a little off topic, but the Arizona State quarterback that we were talking about a little bit ago, it's kind of wild to me to see such a break from him and his head coach, with Dillingham saying, like, "This is where I am." I think he went to Arizona State, right? So he's like really bought in, or at least he says he is. For his quarterback to, I know he didn't really say it himself, but to turn around and be like, "Yeah, I'm going to the highest bidder," seems kind of like a wild break to me. But that's the world we live in, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is crazy stuff, but okay. Well, we won't hold everybody up too long. Jackie, thanks for coming on again. We really enjoyed it. It was good info, good stuff. For everybody watching, I guess the Virginia Tech game was put on a 6-day hold, meaning they won't announce the game time until this upcoming Monday after this week's slate is up. From looking at it, I think it's either going to be a noon kick or like a 7 kick, 7:30. So we'll see. I don't really know if the 3:30 window has a good spot for us, and it doesn't seem like. But we'll see what happens. We'll get that next week, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's what a season. It's gonna come down to the Virginia Tech game, just like we planned it.
Yeah,
Yep.
Of course it is. We started saying this like 3 weeks ago that no matter what it came down to, whatever Virginia was going to get was going to have to be because they beat Tech. And of course, it's going to be potentially a playoff spot on the line. I mean, yeah, they got to do some other stuff too, but like the fact that that's still open is just so wild.
Man, it's fitting, right? This season is all about milestones and making history. And what was it? I think one of the last things they did was won 4 straight road games to match a school record set in '84 and 1990. So every week I seem to be writing this is a new milestone for Virginia. So maybe this is a new milestone for Virginia, and then another win over in-state rival.
Get 2 more
When
set
we
all
get to
time
10,
win
I
record.
like
That'd be
it.
nice, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. But in any event, we'll be back next week. Be sure to check out Jackie. She's got some good stuff going on. She did some interviews before this show today. She's got her chart over there with the eligibility on it. Wahoo's 24/7. We'll plug her anytime. They're good stuff. We enjoy it. Thank you, Jackie, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Look, hopefully the next time we'll talk to you will be something very happy when it comes to the end postseason.
It'd be great. We would love that. But we will be back next week. Until then, rest up. Go Hoos.
Go Hoos.